Hey, how's it going? My name is Justin, and the story I picked out for you for this video presentation is from Sherman Alexie, and the title of it is, it's a long one, Because My Father Always Said He Was the Only Indian Who Saw Jimi Hendrix Play the Star-Spangled Banner at Woodstock. Big title, I know. Big title. Great story, though. I loved it. I really did. But it's from Sherman Alexie, and if you recall, he was the first author that we encountered in this course. And he had the Tonto and Lone Ranger fist fight in heaven. And I really liked that story. I really did. It gravitated toward me, and I gravitated toward it because we have kind of similar styles, like the way he writes, very sarcastic, in a funny way, but not in a mean way. But I just like the way he writes. It caught my attention, so I searched a little more and found this, and I read it, and I thought, okay, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. Now, the story is only, I think it's around 16 pages long, give or take. But the analysis of the story is this. A young Indian man spent some time in jail. Now, how he got to jail was he was a peaceful protester at this big rally. He actually got his picture taken, and it was on the cover of Time magazine. But I guess during the protest, he, snapped a little, and he beat down a National Guardsman. And this didn't set well. And they made an example of him and sent him to prison just like that. Now, in prison, he saw a lot of bad things. Murders, rape. It was rough the way they briefly described it, but you could tell it was pretty rough. So rough that it impacted him throughout the rest of the story. But after he gets out, the first thing he does, he goes to Woodstock. Woodstock was amazing. If you can watch old footage of it, awesome. I could see that experience changing him. But he goes to Woodstock, and he sees Jimi Hendrix play our national anthem, Star Spangled Banner. And after that, it really sets the tone for the rest of the story, and he just changes. Now, they don't dwell too much about his past, like in the beginning. They just kind of barely touch base, but you could tell, like, between prison and the Star Spangled Banner, he finds solace and comfort in that, and it changes him. And he leaves Woodstock. He goes home to his wife and child, which throughout the story, they don't mention the parents' names. All they mention is his son's name is named Victor. But Victor's the son's name, and his parents, I guess he just didn't bother creating a name for him. But he goes back home, and he's obviously changed because of prison, and Star Spangled Banner has changed him a lot. He gets drunk a lot. He doesn't talk much anymore, except when Star Spangled Banner is playing. And there's a few instances where Victor talks about his dad coming home drunk, and he would, play Star Spangled Banner, have it ready for him. He would just get in that mode, and then he would just pass out. And then he'd feel bad the next day and tell Victor stories about how great his mother was, even though him and his mother are pretty much on the verge of getting a divorce because they fight so much. But on the flip side, Victor mentions that they make love a lot. So it just kind of equals out in Victor's eyes. But after they explain this, throughout the story, Victor's dad becomes more and more of a recluse. And the only way he opens up is Star Spangled Banner from Jimi Hendrix. They even go to his gravesite and take pictures. And it sounds kind of ridiculous, which, that's the way he wrote the story, and that's what Victor's dad gravitated toward, and that's pretty much his solace. But after the story, continues on, his dad becomes more and more of a recluse, and you could tell, the relationship between his mom and dad is coming to an end, and his dad buys a motorcycle, and in that, his dad wrecks the motorcycle and gets very badly hurt. And his mom sticks around and helps him out and helps him get back on his feet again. And what's the first thing he does when he gets back on his feet? He packs up and leaves. And he leaves Victor, and he leaves his wife. Now, the funny thing is, throughout this story, his dad remembers only the good things. He doesn't remember any of the bad things that's happened. And throughout the story, his wife, Victor's mom, becomes more and more beautiful the way he describes her, which is kind of weird. You think, why did they split if he keeps saying all this good stuff? But that's how Victor's dad was. He just kind of changed the story in his head, and he just remembered the good stuff. And Star Spangled Banner had an effect on him, and he opened up more and just talked more about it. Which, toward the end of the story, like the very end, Victor, I guess, does not have a nightmare. He has a dream in which he thinks his dad's coming back, and his dad says, hey, I got the motorcycle ready, let's go. And he goes outside and he waits, and his dad never shows up, and he kind of realizes he's dreaming. And his mom says, hey, you're dreaming, just come on in, we'll just eat breakfast. And it's kind of sad. It ends on a sad note, but I'm wondering if Alexei, the way he wrote this, he always mentions the Native American aspect. That's awesome. But he's either a great storyteller, or part of this story maybe is reflected to his own upbringing. Maybe just a bit. I don't know. I haven't did too much research on him, so it's a possibility. But I can see definitely similarities and references between this and Tonto and the Lone Ranger, because in that story, toward the end, what does he do? He ends up becoming more of a recluse and a loner, and he leaves his wife. And that's pretty much what happened in this story. He left his wife and kid, and it kind of ends on a sad note. But overall, I thought it was a great story. I haven't really found any other stories that kind of compare to it, except, Tonto and Lone Ranger Fist Fight in Heaven. But overall, great story. Go read it if you get a chance. But thank you so much for your time. I'll see you later.